All right, guys. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to first go ahead and fill in the rest of the circle in degrees and radians, okay? So that's 30, 45, 60, 90, 120, 135. Okay, I'm just going to go all the way around. That's 210, 225, 240, 270, 300. This should take you, no more than a minute, right, to fill it up. 330, and then this was supposed to be 360. I'll just put it right there, 360, because it's supposed to be 0 and 0, okay? And so this will be, now let's do radians. So 0, then we have pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2. So it goes 6, 4, 3, 2. Countdown, 6, 4, 3, 2, okay? The ones over here, if I go across, it'll still be pi over 3. Go across, pi over 4. Go across, pi over 6. Okay? But remember, the numerators are 1 less than the denominator. So 1 less than 6 is 5. Subtract 1, you get 3. Subtract 1, you get 2. Okay? 180 is always just going to be pi. That's where our pi is. Now here, you could go across here. So this will be pi over 6. This will be pi over 4, pi over 3, and then pi over 2. Okay? For these, you just add 1 to the denominator. So this will be 7, 5, 3 plus 1 is 4, and then 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay? And over here, it's going to be, just go across, pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3. Okay? And then for these, remember, we don't add. We just go ahead and remember the 711. So this will be 711 right here. And then this is 3, 5. There you go, 711. Okay, another way to look at it is just go across to the other pi over 3, right, diagonally across. Add those two. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 4 is 7. 5 plus 6 is 11. Okay, and then all the way around is 2 pi. Let me just delete that 3 pi over 2 right there so that it's not in the way. Okay, we don't need that number anymore. That was just for demonstration. Okay, so now what about all these empty coordinates all around the circle, right? So here's what we're going to do. Check it out. So this triangle here, let's just do this first one here, the 30 degrees. We have this triangle in all 4 other quadrants. Notice here, if I go this way here, right? In other words, the one right across from it, the other one with the pi over 6. In fact, it's all the ones with the pi over 6. Okay? They're all going to be that same triangle right here. So if I drop a line down like this, it's the same triangle, just reflected. Okay? If I go this way here, all the way to the point on the circle, and then drop a line like that, it's the same triangle reflected downward. You see that? And then if I go this one here and then drop a line down like that, it's the same triangle. So it's the same 30 degree angle in all 4 quadrants. Okay? So the good news is that, well, I don't have to do any more math. I already did the math when I did it here in the first quadrant. So all we have to do is transfer all these. Remember, these are all the ones with pi over 6, pi over 6, pi over 6, pi over 6, okay? Or 30, 150, 210, and 330. But it's easier to see it with the pi over 6. Okay? So notice here, this is radical 3 over 2, 1/2. All these will be that. Radical 3 over 2, 1/2. Radical 3 over 2, 1/2. Radical 3 over 2, 1/2. That's it, right? The only thing we need to go back now and change, though, is remember, this is an x and y axis. So these are the positives. Right here, we're going to be at negative, positive. Down here in the 3rd quadrant, it's going to be negative, negative. And then right here, it'll be positive, negative. You see where I'm going with this? Okay. So now, let's do all the ones with pi over 4. That's the middle one, right? The medium one. So these were all the short ones. The short, medium, and tall, right? So this is all the medium ones now that we're going to do. Okay, so all the medium ones, the ones that have pi over 4, are going to be radical 2 over 2. So radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. Radical 2 over 2. Radical 2 over 2. And then over here, radical 2 over 2. Radical 2 over 2. See how I was saying that all you really need to know is know the first quadrant? Okay? And we still haven't gotten the ones on the axis, right? The x-axis and the y. We'll do those last. Okay? And then just go back and change the sign. So these will all be negative, positive, because we're in the second quadrant. This will be negative, negative in the third quadrant. And this will be positive, negative in the fourth quadrant. Okay? Finally, all the ones that have pi over 3, we have 4 of them in total. And so this will be 1/2 radical 3 over 2. So 1/2 radical 3 over 2. 1/2 radical 3 over 2. 1/2 radical 3 over 2. Okay, and just change all the signs. And so this will be negative, positive, negative, negative. Where are we? Positive, negative. Okay, so all these are positive, negative. All these are negative, negative. All these are negative, positive, and all these are positive, positive. See, we're almost done. We just need these here. Well, remember, these are easy because look, we're on the axis, right? So this is the x-axis. And remember, the radius is always 1. So if I go all the way across, right on the circle, I'm at 1, 0. Okay? If I go up, I'm at 0, 1. If I go to the left, I'm at negative 1, 0. And if I go down, I'm at 0, negative 1. There's the entire circle. The entire unit circle completed. Okay? And so these 3 are the main coordinates that we need to remember. Because these 3 appear in all of them. The only thing that changes is the sign. Because they're in a different quadrant. Okay? So now, notice, if I ask you, what's cosine of pi over 6? You tell me, oh, that's radical 3 over 2. Okay? So one thing to remember is that the x, remember, represents cosine. Why? Because it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is the cosine, and that's the sine all the way around the circle. Cosine, sine, cosine, sine. Even this one's cosine, sine. So if I ask you, what's cosine of 90 degrees, or what's cosine of pi over 2? It's the same thing, right? Just different unit, radians and degrees. So cosine of 90 is 0, or cosine of pi over 2 is also 0. What about sine of 90? Punch it in your calculator, you'll see it's 1. Sine of 90 or sine of pi over 2. Okay? Now, we have to do now tangent, and then we will be finished. Okay? So now remember, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be opposite for all these over adjacent, and that's what we're going to do next. So I want you to pause the video and copy this table down onto a blank sheet of paper, because we're going to be doing some math right here, okay? So pause the video and then go ahead and copy this table, okay? And then once you're ready, press play, and then we're going to get into it. So check this out. Using my unit circle here, I can go ahead and calculate the 3 trig functions for each one, okay? Check this out. So cosine of pi over 6, or 30, all I have to do is go to my unit circle. Here's pi over 6 and 30. It's the same angle, just one is in degrees and the other one's in radians. Cosine is radical 3 over 2. So I'm going here. I'm going to say that's radical 3 over 2. As simple as that. Okay? Now let's do cosine of pi over 4. Cosine of pi over 4, or 45 degrees, is radical 2 over 2. Okay? And then the last one, cosine of 60. That's going to be 1/2, right? Or pi over 3. It's the same thing, right? And so now notice here, if I wanted to go cosine of 90, I could just say, oh, that's 0. Okay, but we're only interested in these right now because, again, we're going to find the tangent of all the other ones around the unit circle. Okay, but first, let's just fill this in. Okay, now watch this. Sine. Let's do sine now. Sine of 30 is going to be 1/2. And then radical 2 over 2. And then radical 3 over 2. So it's the same one as the cosine, just in reverse order, okay? Now, what about tangent, okay? Now, for tangent, remember, it's TOA. SOHCAHTOA TOA is opposite over adjacent. This is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. So it's sine over cosine. So it'll be 1/2 over radical 3 over 2, right? And so what I'm going to do here, instead of filling it in right here, I got to do some math. Okay, so tangent of 30 degrees is going to be TOA, or sine over cosine. Okay, so it's going to be 1/2 over radical 3 over 2. Okay, so I have a complex fraction here. I have a fraction within a fraction. Okay, so what I have to do here is I need to change this to division, right? So it'll be like this: 1/2 divided by radical 3 over 2. Okay, so this, all I did is I changed this fraction bar to division, and now it's that, right? And so now notice here, we're going to again multiply now by the reciprocal. You may remember that from earlier math classes. So it's 1/2 times 2 over radical 3. Okay? And so now I can cancel out the 2's here, and I end up with 1 over radical 3. See that? But remember, we're not allowed to leave the denominator with a radical, so I'm just going to multiply by radical 3 over radical 3. And I end up with radical 3 over 3. Okay? So this is what I end up with for tangent of 30 degrees. So radical 3 over 3. Okay? Let's do the same thing for the next one, tangent of 45 degrees. Okay? Now 45 degrees, remember, it's TOA is opposite over adjacent. So it's sine over cosine. So it's going to be radical 2 over 2 over radical 2 over 2. Wait a minute, this is easy, because whenever you have a numerator the same as the denominator, that just equals 1. Okay? So then this is just going to be 1 right there. Okay? One more to go. Tangent of 60 degrees. These are all degrees. Okay? Or pi over 3. It's going to be opposite over adjacent. So radical 3 over 2 over 1/2. Okay? So just like I did up here, I'm going to have to go ahead and change that to division. So it'll be radical 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Flip that. So it'll be radical 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. The 2's cancel. And I end up with radical 3 over 1, which is just radical 3. So radical 3. Okay? So this table here, right, is just the first quadrant again. It's just this right here. Okay? Remember, we already had sine and cosine. That's what we have right here. But now we have tangent. We were able to calculate tangent. So now what I'm going to do here, outside of each one, is I'm just going to write the tangent. Okay? So the tangent of 30 degrees is going to be radical 3 over 3. So this will be radical 3 over 3. I'll just write it on the outside. Okay? That's for tangent. What about for the 45 degree one? Well, we did it right here. It's going to be 1. And then right here, it'll be just radical 3. That's for the 60 degree. Okay, so I just wrote it outside of each one. That's going to be the tangent. Okay, so now watch this. Okay, now I can go ahead and use these 3 to fill out all the rest of the unit circles. So if I go across here, remember all the ones that have radical 3 over 2 and 1/2 right here? This is just going to be radical 3 over 3, 1, and then radical 3. Okay, but remember, this is a fraction, right? It's supposed to be opposite over adjacent. So this is going to be a positive divided by a negative. That's going to be a negative. A positive divided by a negative is negative. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. So all these 3 are negative in the second quadrant. Okay? Now let's go over here. There's my radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. So this is going to be radical 3 over 3. And then 1. And then radical 3. Okay? But since we're in the third quadrant, remember, it's opposite over adjacent, so it's going to be a negative divided by a negative, positive. So all these will be positive, okay? Because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, finally, over here, let's go across. So this will be radical 3 over 3. This will be 1, and this will be radical 3, okay? But since we're in the fourth quadrant, it's going to be a negative divided by a positive, so that's going to be a negative. So all these will be negative, okay? So now, this is now the completed unit circle, including the tangents. Oops, I forgot to do this one out here. Let's do this one here. Opposite over adjacent, right? So it's going to be basically y over x. So 0 over 1 is going to be 0. So that's the tangent for that one. 1 over 0 is going to be undefined. And then right here, 0 over negative 1, that's going to be 0. And then right here, negative 1 over 0, that's also undefined. So tangent are the ones outside the coordinates, okay? And so notice a 0 and 0, and then undefined and undefined, okay? So now, watch this. I can ask you on a delta math, I can say, okay, what's tangent of 5 pi over 4? So you just go, oh, that's 1. What's cosine of 7 pi over 4? Oh, that's the first one. That's the x, radical 2 over 2. What's sine of 315? Oh, that's negative radical 2 over 2. What's tangent of 90 degrees? Oh, tangent of 90 degrees, that's undefined. What's tangent of 225 degrees? Oh, that's positive 1. Okay, so you see, the unit circle is basically an information tool for all the common angles that we will be using in this course. Okay, that's it.